Ever feel like there's a secret governor inside you, silently limiting your success, love, and happiness, no matter how hard you try? It's not some external force, it's a deeply ingrained self-perception, a mental thermostat, if you will. And what if I told you that, in just a week, you could start reprogramming it to unlock a life you once thought impossible? I spent years chasing better outcomes, believing more work, more studying, more hustle would magically change things. But I was just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. The core issue remained untouched. That core? My self-image. I discovered a hidden autopilot, a mental governor dictating my earnings, my relationships, my confidence, even my joy. This internal system, like a plane on autopilot, ignores my desires and intentions, keeping my life stubbornly aligned with my self-created blueprint. That's why so many people get stuck in repetitive cycles, temporary progress, then a frustrating return to square one. It's not bad luck or lack of discipline, but the autopilot doing its job. And if your internal programming assigns you low value, that's exactly what you'll accept. Think about someone trying to lose weight. They diet, they exercise, they shed pounds, only to regain it all months later. Or the person who saves diligently, then inexplicably blows it all. These aren't conscious decisions, they are automatic adjustments to maintain that internal, set point. This clicked for me when I compared my life to others. I saw people seemingly coasting to success while others, working tirelessly, remained stagnant. The difference wasn't talent, luck, or sheer effort. It was what they believed they deserved. It's like each of us has an invisible ceiling, a self-imposed limit on our achievements. This limit isn't in the job market, the economy, or even other people, it's in our own minds. Understanding this, I started observing my own patterns. I realized that whenever I neared a breakthrough beyond my usual comfort zone, a part of me would subtly sabotage the effort. A convenient excuse to quit, a missed opportunity, a feeling of unease that pulled me back to the familiar. That's precisely what the internal governor does. It measures the distance between your current situation and your internal self-image and, often subtly, steers you back to where you've always been. The most unsettling part? This governor doesn't distinguish between positive and negative programming. It simply executes the code it's been given. If you see yourself as limited, lacking confidence, or unlucky, that's your reality. Believe yourself capable, deserving, and confident, and that becomes your reality. The good news? Unlike a standard autopilot, this internal governor can be reprogrammed. But to do that, you have to stop fighting the symptoms and tackle the root cause, your self-perception. The moment you become aware of this process, your perspective shifts. You realize you aren't doomed to repeat the same patterns forever. It's like getting the owner's manual to your own internal system. When you adjust that set point to a higher level, something extraordinary happens. Your actions, decisions, and even the opportunities that arise start aligning with this new self-image. Life transforms from a constant uphill battle to an internal calibration you can win. There was a time I believed all I needed was the perfect opportunity, the dream job, the right person. I was a firefighter, underpaid, trapped in a seemingly inescapable routine, and saw no way out. It wasn't laziness, it was something deeper. I couldn't envision a different life. An invisible barrier defined my reach, and every attempt to surpass it pulled me back. Then someone gave me Think and Grow Rich. Those pages revealed something no one had ever explained. We carry a set of beliefs and mental habits that form a pattern, paradigm, acting as an invisible mold for our lives. This isn't solely shaped by experience, but by stories, opinions, and beliefs absorbed since childhood, inherited behaviors from family, culture, school, often accepted without question. I realized my paradigm was built on limitations. I grew up hearing money was hard to come by, that some people just weren't born to be rich, that success was for a select few. These ideas seeped into my subconscious, becoming silent rules I obeyed without realizing it. Even when opportunities for improvement arose, I unconsciously sabotaged them because they didn't fit my internal programming. You've likely experienced this. You decide to change careers, start a business, or ask for a raise, but something inside creates doubts, fear, or discouragement before you even try. That's your paradigm trying to keep things the same. The brain seeks the familiar, not necessarily what's best for you. That's why so many people repeat patterns observed in their parents or loved ones, despite vowing to do differently. Research shows over 90% of our daily decisions are subconscious. If that subconscious programming isn't aligned with your goals, no amount of conscious effort will overcome it. It will pull you back to the known, the comfortable, the safe, even if safe means far below your potential. I understood then that learning new skills or working longer hours wasn't enough. I needed to modify the underlying programming, the code controlling everything. This isn't accidental, it's a conscious process of replacement. You identify unhelpful beliefs and repeatedly nourish your mind with new ideas until they become the new default. I started seeing myself as someone who could generate wealth, make impactful decisions, and live a radically different life. As this new internal image solidified, opportunities appeared, the right people entered my life, and decisions that once seemed risky became natural. To transform your life, you must first change the invisible mold that shapes it. As a kid, school was a constant battle. Report cards with abysmal grades seemed to announce, "He's not smart enough." Even when I studied harder, improvement was temporary. Grades would rise, I'd feel on track, then inexplicably plummet. An invisible force pulled me back. I didn't know then that force was my self-image. Deep down, I believed I was a bad student. No matter how much I studied or promised myself better, my mind found ways to validate that identity. This happens to many. They strive for change, grades, weight, finances, but without altering their self-perception, any gains fade. How often have you seen someone join a gym, train diligently, lose weight, only to be back where they started months later? Or someone who saves, then reverts to old spending habits? This isn't a lack of knowledge or willpower, it's because the internal governor, their self-image, is set to maintain the old pattern. It's like trying to change direction while the steering wheel is jammed. I remember observing friends who seemingly studied less yet excelled. It wasn't ability or intelligence, it was their self-image. They believed they were good students, and acted accordingly. Similarly, someone who sees themselves as clumsy will, consciously or not, find ways to prove themselves right. Mike Tyson epitomizes this. He reached boxing's pinnacle, achieved fame, fortune, and recognition, yet never adjusted his internal self-image. He made choices that cost him nearly everything. No matter how high you climb, without an internal shift, you'll eventually return to where you feel emotionally at home. That's the trap of temporary fixes, changing behavior without changing identity. It's like painting over cracks without fixing the underlying structure. The paint might last, but the cracks reappear. True transformation happens when you see yourself differently, when your mind accepts the new result as your reality. Only then does effort become a natural reflection of who you've become. One of my most impactful changes started simply, almost naively. I began affirming daily, with conviction, "I am so happy and grateful now that I live the life and in the body I have chosen." At first, it felt forced. My mind protested, "But that's not true, yet." But as I repeated and visualized it, something shifted. It wasn't overnight, but my brain started accepting it as reality, and my actions aligned. I understood a crucial principle: the subconscious doesn't distinguish between reality and intensely imagined scenarios. Repeating and reinforcing an internal image with emotion replaces the old one. It's like changing the script that controls your behaviors and decisions. If I once saw myself as limited, insecure, incapable, this new image pushed me toward bolder choices consistent with who I wanted to be. You've likely heard that positive thinking changes lives. It's not just positive thinking, it's reprogramming your self-image until it's so clear and natural that the external world has no choice but to adjust. When I started seeing myself as someone who prospers, I made different decisions. I no longer accepted limitations, didn't settle for what once seemed normal. Opportunities arose unexpectedly, as if the universe responded to my new pattern. This applies to every life area. Want to improve your relationship with money? It's not just budgeting and saving, it's seeing yourself as someone who generates, manages, and multiplies resources. Want better health? It's not just diet and exercise. It's cultivating the image of a healthy, energetic person. With this firm image, daily choices become reflections of who you believe yourself to be. Self-image is an invisible mold. You create externally what you first build internally. When you change the mold, everything else reorganizes. After years of struggling to change outcomes through sheer force, I realized the real work was internal. When that internal transformation happens, life flows almost magically, not magic, but the power of aligning your inner self with your desires. Most people follow a script they didn't write. They make choices to please others, shaping their dreams to fit family, friends, or even strangers' expectations. I lived like that, trying to be the version others expected, and it's a fast track to wasting your life. A near-invisible fear of disapproval, judgment, and rejection holds many back, causing them to shrink, live below their potential, say yes when they want to say no, and stifle desires that, if pursued, could change everything. Living to please everyone is a losing battle. Someone will always criticize, no matter how perfect you try to be. Oscar Wilde was right. Selfishness is not living as one wishes to live, it is asking others to live as one wishes to live. This made me rethink my approach. While concerned with external approval, I'd never have true peace. The cost of living by others' rules is high. It costs your freedom, authenticity, and ultimately, your happiness. Many artists, athletes, and entrepreneurs lost everything because they couldn't maintain their true selves under external pressure. Amy Winehouse is a tragic example. Her talent was undeniable, but expectations, criticism, and influences led her down a devastating path. Failure to adjust your self-image makes you vulnerable to anyone's opinion, reacting to events instead of creating your desired life. When I decided to live by my rules, everything changed. I made decisions based on what resonated with me, not what seemed acceptable to others. This didn't isolate me, it attracted genuine connections. Relationships deepened because I stopped being a fabricated version and became myself. This isn't instant. Saying no will initially feel uncomfortable, and defying expectations will create doubts. But that discomfort is a good sign. It means you're breaking old patterns, adjusting your internal governor for a life aligned with who you truly are. When you stop living to please and start living to express your beliefs and desires, confidence grows, decisions become clearer, and life gains a freedom no external approval could offer. Ultimately, it's that freedom that makes each day worthwhile. I realized most people don't fail from lack of ability, but from underestimating the power of small daily adjustments. We wait for big events, new jobs, windfalls, lucky breaks, ignoring that consistent actions, repeated daily, shape who we become. It's like a river carving a canyon, not overnight, but over time. I started asking, what daily actions, even unconscious ones, create my reality? Many habits stem from decisions I barely remembered making. My morning coffee. Conversations, repeated beliefs, silently guiding me toward a specific destination, not always the one I wanted. I shifted strategy. Instead of massive changes that left me exhausted and frustrated, I focused on seemingly insignificant adjustments that, over time, become transformative. You've likely experienced this. You start a project with high motivation, make strides for a week or two, then lose steam and abandon it. Drastic changes demand immense energy, and the mind, to protect itself, pushes us back to comfort. But small, strategic, consistent changes don't trigger that alarm. The subconscious accepts them, and they become part of your pattern. I see it as compound interest. Initially, nothing much happens, but over time, it creates an exponential leap. Studies show replacing one bad habit with a positive one, maintained for months, significantly impacts physical, emotional, and financial well-being. It's a transformation that's subtle at first, but impossible to ignore in the long run. For me, it started with 10 minutes of daily reading on self-development. 10 minutes seems insignificant, yet it opened doors to new ideas, decisions, and opportunities. My paradigm quietly began to shift. That's what many underestimate, the power of daily small wins that redefine your self-image. To change any life area, start small. Don't underestimate the power of a seemingly simple habit. Like a river's ceaseless flow, these small adjustments, consistently maintained, sculpt a new you. Looking back, it's the consistency in the details that built my greatest achievements. I learned, often the hard way, that life will always test your ability to persevere when things seem to fall apart. Life throws curveballs. We're not talking minor setbacks, but the real gut punches: job loss, relationship breakdowns, financial crises that threaten everything you've worked for. Most people panic, driven by fear, making rash decisions that dig them deeper instead of pulling them out. The truth is, these turbulent times expose your core programming. If you secretly see yourself as weak, vulnerable, and resourceless, that's how you'll act, shrinking, retreating, settling for less than you deserve. But if your self-image is one of resilience, creativity, and problem-solving prowess, your mind immediately starts searching for solutions. This isn't naive optimism, it's pure mental conditioning. Our brains are wired for efficiency, and in a crisis, they revert to what's already ingrained. I remember a time when I faced crippling financial hardship. My initial instinct was to cut back and simply survive until things improved. But I realized that was a scarcity mindset, fueled by fear. I consciously shifted gears and asked myself, if I were the person I aspire to be, how would I act right now? That simple question was a game changer. Instead of shrinking, I started aggressively seeking new income streams, exploring ideas I wouldn't have even considered within my old comfort zone. Not only did I overcome the crisis faster than expected, but I also created opportunities that lasted far beyond the initial challenge. The key takeaway is that under pressure, it's not the situation that dictates the outcome, it's your self-perception. Two people can face the same storm, one succumbs, the other thrives. The difference lies in their internal thermostat. Research shows that under intense stress, human performance can skyrocket or plummet based on self-belief and mental clarity. So, before the inevitable crisis hits, and it will, you need to cultivate a powerful inner narrative. Visualize yourself as someone who thinks clearly under pressure, someone who transforms obstacles into opportunities. With that image firmly in place, you won't just survive tough times, you'll use them as fuel to become stronger. Looking back, you'll realize that the most turbulent periods forged your most powerful self. Procrastination is a huge enemy of potential, far bigger than failure itself. It's not just laziness or disorganization, it's a direct reflection of self-image. When you see yourself as someone who meets deadlines, acts decisively, and honors commitments, your actions will follow suit. But if you view yourself as a chronic procrastinator, you'll, consciously or unconsciously, find ways to delay even the most important things. I've been there. I had a project that could have completely changed my life, but instead of diving in, I invented a million tiny tasks to prepare myself. Days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, the opportunity was gone. I didn't fail due to lack of ability, I failed because my mental programming kept me in my comfort zone, and undertaking something significant required leaving it. You might recognize yourself in this. Maybe it's that course you keep putting off, that important conversation you avoid. Procrastination is often fear in disguise. And that fear isn't necessarily about facing the challenge, but about what happens if you succeed. Because if you achieve your goal, your life will change, and change requires a new self-image, something your old programming desperately tries to avoid. Science backs this up. Studies show a strong link between procrastination, low self-confidence, and a fear of handling the consequences of your actions. It's easier to delay than to confront the possibility of failure, or even success. I started using a simple trick. Whenever I caught myself procrastinating, I asked, if I were already the person I want to be, what would I do right now? This spurred me into action, aligning my behavior with my desired self-image, not my old patterns. Each small act of immediate action not only produced results but also reinforced my self-image as someone decisive and proactive. This creates a positive feedback loop. Action strengthens confidence, and more confidence leads to more action. As you build momentum, procrastination loses its grip because your mind starts associating movement with progress, not risk. That's how you break free from the cycle of delay and build the identity of someone who transforms ideas into reality. Until you change your self-image, any change will be temporary. Now that you understand this, let's take the next step together. Watch the video now playing on your screen. You'll be a little better than you are now. Thank you for being here, and until next time.